Aloha and welcome to Start by Starting. I'm Susan Peters Chesley, your host, and today we're diving into an important and often life-changing topic, understanding your recent diagnosis of level 1 ASD. Whether you're coming to this as a newly diagnosed adult, supporting someone who is, or just here to learn, today's episode is all about breaking down what this diagnosis means, common traits, and most importantly, how we can reframe our perceptions to see the strengths that come with it. Let's start with the basics. What is level 1 ASD? Level 1 ASD, or Asperger's syndrome, is now incorporated into the autism spectrum as autism spectrum disorder, and it's considered the mildest level on the autism spectrum. For many adults, especially those diagnosed later in life, level 1 ASD can feel like both an answer to years of unwanted questions and at the same time like a major shift in self-understanding. People with level 1 ASD often have average to above average intelligence, no cognition deficits, and are able to handle a lot of the demands of daily life on their own. However, they might find certain social situations, executive functioning, changes in routine, or managing sensory input challenging. So what are some of the common traits you might experience with level 1 ASD? Common traits of level 1 ASD can present itself in many unique ways, but there are a few traits that often stand out. Here are some of the most common ones. Social communication differences. Many people with level 1 ASD find social interactions draining or confusing. I know I do. Small talk, reading between the lines, or understanding nonverbal cues can sometimes feel like trying to read a book in a language you only partly understand. This doesn't mean that someone can't have deep or meaningful relationships. It just may take more energy or require clearer communication. The next one is focus and intense interests. Individuals with level 1 ASD often have the ability to hyperfocus on things they're passionate about. This can be a huge strength, whether it's a hobby, a work project, or learning new skills. This intense focus can allow for deep knowledge and skill building that others might find difficult to maintain. Sensory sensitivities is a big one. It's another common aspect of level 1 ASD. This can mean being extra sensitive to light, sounds, textures, or smells. Many people with level 1 ASD find these sensitivities challenging, but we learn to manage them, like carrying headphones or sunglasses or planning outings around quieter times, things like that. There's a need for routine and predictability. So a love for routine and structure is also common in those with level 1 ASD. Change can really feel unsettling or overwhelming, especially when it's unexpected. This preference for predictability can actually be a benefit, leading to highly organized and reliable habits, especially if you work or you have your own business. This can really be helpful. But what happens when these traits have been misunderstood? Let's talk about a few common myths floating around out there around ASD. So we're going to debunk some of these myths. There are plenty of myths about autism out there, and I want to take a moment to debunk a few that can lead to misunderstanding or even self-doubt. Myth number 1. People with level 1 ASD lack empathy. This is a huge misconception. Empathy isn't absent in people with ASD. It may just show up differently on different levels. Many people with level 1 ASD deeply care about others, but might struggle with certain social cues or expressing emotions in a way that neurotypical people expect. In fact, many people on the spectrum feel emotions intensely, sometimes to the point that they become overwhelmed by them. Myth number 2. Level 1 ASD is just quirkiness. While ASD may look like certain quirky behaviors, it's more than that. It affects how someone interacts with the world in a way that requires genuine effort and adaptation. Myth number 3. If you've done fine until now, you don't need a diagnosis. Boy, I've heard that a lot. Receiving a diagnosis, even later in life, can be incredibly affirming. It's not just about labeling. It's about understanding yourself, recognizing areas of difficulty, and embracing the strategies that help you live a fuller, happier life. You deserve that. Everyone does. So, embracing strengths and reframing perceptions is important. Let's talk about reframing this diagnosis in a way that focuses on strengths and self-acceptance in a positive way. Level 1 ASD is often called an invisible disability because people might seem normal on the outside while dealing with unique challenges internally. But it's also a source of unique abilities. For instance, that intense focus we talked about, it can be an incredible strength in your personal or professional life. Many people with ASD excel in fields like art, science, technology, and any area where detailed work is required. It really helped me excel in the military, where I was in charge of maintaining all of the parts of an airplane, all the way down to the nuts and bolts. It really helped me love my job and be really good at it. And you can too with those things. The key here is to see the diagnosis not as something to overcome, but as a way to better understand yourself. Now you have a map, a guide to why you might feel out of place in some situations and like you're completely in your element in others. So let's talk about some final thoughts and looking forward from here. If you've recently been diagnosed with level 1 ASD, or you've done one of the online self-tests, I did it 12 times, and 12 times it was like, yeah, you're autistic AF. So I encourage you to take some time to process it all. It took me really 2 years to get to where I am today, and I'm still learning more about myself. Self-regulation can be a huge part of this journey. Keeping a journal, talking to trusted friends, or even seeing a therapist or a coach who understands autism can help you work through this initial identity shift. And that's exactly what it is, a shift in your identity. Know that you're not alone. There's a community out there, both of other adults who've been diagnosed later in life and professionals who can provide the needed guidance, such as here. So in our next episode, We'll dive into how you can begin to shape an identity that feels authentic and grounded in both who you've been and who you're becoming. Thank you for tuning in today to Start by Starting. And remember, understanding self-awareness and acceptance is the first step towards self-empowerment. If you're new here today, please subscribe, hit the like button and the notification bell, comment down below, and share so you won't miss an episode and a chance to connect to the community. For those returning, thank you so much for helping the community grow. I truly appreciate you. This is a safe space where diversity, equity, and inclusion isn't just a phrase or a slur, but a true lifestyle and mindset of acceptance of our differences. Aloha.